and a lot of people are on their devices, but I have felt prompted for several days to share a story that actually is like 17 years old, a personal, kind of a personal experience, a personal story. And I kept arguing with myself, like, that feels so random. Like, why share that? And this morning in my morning practice, it just became, okay, there we go. It's Pat. We're back. We're back. Anyway, it became abundantly clear that there's a very specific reason that I kept getting prompted to share this story from actually the year 2000. It's because of the time of year. It's because of the season. So as in the hustle and bustle of all of our holiday preparations and going about our workaday world, there's something else happening inside of us, and it happens in all of us. It's that a new year is almost here, and that brings with it all of the excitement of a new chapter, a fresh start, and all of the great feelings and inspiration that happen around that. So the thought that has been bubbling up for me is that quite often we allow life to just happen to us. I mean, there are times when life happens to us, and there are times when we happen to life, right? But for many people, much of their day is spent going about their regular routine, filling their regular roles, doing what they need to do day in, day out, and very rarely do we deviate from kind of that regular, going around, getting our stuff done, and our roles, filling our roles and our obligations. But then every now and then we decide to disrupt the whole thing, and we decide that we were born for more, and we go after it, and then we become deliberate creators. We are then taking hold, taking charge of our own lives. And so several years ago, I wrote a book, and in that book, I talk about the 6 steps to deliberate creation, and essentially what they are. The book is called How to Get Absolutely Anything You Want, right? But what it really is how to be deliberate about getting what you want rather than letting life happen to you and taking what comes and being always in response to that. Instead, being a creator of getting the life that you want. And so the reason that this story is relevant is because it's what's happening inside of all of us right now anyway. We're feeling that urge to expand, to be more, to be different, to make changes, to bring in more power and strength, and to make a bigger difference in our own lives and in the lives of people around us. So that's why I felt prompted to share this story. And as subtext to all of that, I just want to share with you that, might be helpful as you're kind of crafting your goals and your intentions for the year 2018. I want to share with you what those 6 steps of deliberate creation are. The first one is decision. To simply decide. Sometimes that is enough to start a whole new train of events moving positively in our direction. I love what Theodore Roosevelt says about that, about the power of decision. He says that in any moment of decision, the best thing you can do is the right thing. The next best thing you can do is the wrong thing. And the worst thing you can do is, you got it, nothing. And so being decisive rather than letting life happen to us, being decisive, making decisions, even if they're small ones, they become increasingly important in a proactive life. And so being willing to make those decisions. In fact, Napoleon Hill says that successful people in any walk of life make decisions quickly and firmly. And the converse would apply, that people that are less successful, they take a long time to make decisions, and then when they make decisions, they waffle, right? So decisiveness, decision, make a decision. Number 1, that's step number 1. Number 2 is build belief. W. Clement Stone says that whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe it can achieve, we either win the game or lose the game based on what happens in here. Our belief about what we deserve, our belief about us being enough, our belief about we have what it takes, our beliefs shape everything for us. And so if we can sharpen our belief that we do in fact have what it takes and that we will in fact create the life we were born to live, then that shifts everything for us. So that's step number 2. Decide, believe. Number 3 is craft a compelling vision. Now, I think that this one might be, who can say? They're all necessary. But this is very important because when we're trapped in this kind of go about our duties, like I'm reading a book right now by Joe Dispenza, and he purports that we get caught in this thought, feeling cycle. And so many of the thoughts that we think every single day are just repetitions of what we thought yesterday, or maybe they're even inaccurate. Just because we have a thought doesn't mean it's true, right? And so we get caught in this thought, feeling, and so our ability to see beyond that and to see that there's something more, something possible that isn't already in that thought, feeling, that reinforce us keeping what we have. If we look at today's results and revenues, and we let that determine our thoughts, which then become our feelings, and that cycle keeps going, it's impossible to break out. What we have to realize is we look at today's results and revenues, our life and our circumstances as they are today, that they are a result of yesterday's choices, yesterday's thinking. We can make a decision, build belief around it, and craft a compelling vision that is bigger and grander than anything that exists in our life today. And it's like to look at our results, our revenues, our circumstances, and let them determine how we think and we feel today is like looking in the rear view mirror, because that's what happened yesterday. So I want also, as you go into this new year, for you to think that everything that went before is freaking ancient history. You can choose a new thought, a new feeling. You can build belief around it. You can make decisions about it. You can craft a vision around it, and you can change everything for yourself. So vision, crafting a compelling vision, it's so important because we need to be able to see clearly in our mind's eye the things that we want long before they're going to come into our physical reality. So the 4th step is to think it. We've already talked about thoughts a little bit. To speak it and affirm it into existence. I'm a huge believer in affirmations. I know some people think they're a little bit woo-woo, but let me say this. We are always affirming something. When you affirm, I can't do it. Oh, they have what it takes. I don't. That's an affirmation, right? So why wouldn't we be deliberate about our affirmations always also, right? Let's be deliberate about the way that we're going to create. Let me just throw you out a money affirmation that I like. I'm a believer in this isn't saying empty words that you don't believe and chanting stuff that doesn't resonate with you, because the next one is 5, connect it to the heart. You've got to get it from your mind to your heart. But let me go back to this money affirmation. Money comes to me abundantly, rapidly, and with ease from expected and unexpected sources now. My efforts create abundance for others. Like, I simply love that. I added those words, expected and unexpected sources, after I had been using this for a long time. And what was so crazy is all of a sudden I would get a random check in the mail, some rebate or some warranty, something or other that was like 120 days past. And anyway, so when you deliberately choose what you affirm, the word affirm means to make firm, right? To make firm. And when you decide that you will take charge of what you will make firm, affirm things that you want, be positive in that direction, it's huge. So think it, speak it. Also, the value here is speaking it out loud, writing it down, right? When you write something down, you get it out of your mind and you get it into physical reality. That is your precious dreams, your desires, your goals, which, believe me, they matter. They wouldn't be planted in you if they weren't there for a divine reason. And when you write that down on paper, you have created the first entrance into the physical space for that idea, that dream, that desire, that goal, which are precious and deserving. So write it, speak it. I love speaking it out loud. I remember when years ago I felt like there was a book in me, but the idea of writing a book felt so far away. Like, I don't think I could ever be an author, right? I had all of those negative thoughts. And one day I just said the words out loud, and I just said, I'm going to write a book. And I said it very timidly, and I even got tears in my eyes as I said it, because it was something I wanted so badly, but I didn't know how I could do it. But I said it out loud, I'm going to write a book. And the first time I was shaky. Eventually I started sharing with friends, I'm going to write a book. And eventually it was like, I'm writing a book. It just, so being able to say it out loud in trusted circles at first, when it feels fragile, is very, very powerful. So the next one is connected to the heart. We need to move these things that we truly desire from our minds, where our minds are always trying to figure it out. How are we going to do it? Leave the hows to in the domain of the universe, right? Like, you need to make a decision. You need to build belief around it, craft a compelling vision, think it, speak it, and begin affirming it. All of the positivity in your mind constantly, connect it with your heart, because I can promise you this. And you're going to see how all of these came to life in this story that I'm going to tell you here in just a second. When your desires descend to your heart, they are coming, man. Because when you really decide that you want it, and you are clear about your reasons for wanting it, and it gets not just in your mind but in your heart, you have deepened this, right? Like, think of how ethereal an inspiration is when it comes into the top of your head, right? It just lands there, an idea, and you deepen it by building belief around it, by making a decision around it, by crafting a vision. And when you speak it out loud, it becomes more real. When it descends to the heart, baby, it's coming your way, because it is so concrete now. You won't be denied it. So these really are the steps of deliberately creating the life you want. Step number 6 is action. And they don't necessarily happen in this order, right? You might get an idea, and then you take immediate action on it, and then you start to build belief, and you get vision as you go, and you're affirming it and speaking it. Sometimes you move into action, and you're just moving along, and all of a sudden the idea comes. So they don't necessarily happen in that exact order, but action, right? Action is where the rubber meets the road. This is where we send a clear message to all of the powers and forces that be around us, that we are moving forward toward this. Move boldly, move confidently in the direction of your dreams, and you will meet with success unexpected in, I don't know that whole statement, but in unexpected hours. Like, when you move boldly toward your dreams, take action, right? Okay. So now let me just set the stage for this story, because this is what I have felt so prompted to share. And when I feel those kinds of inspirations, I just know that maybe somebody needs to hear this, and that it will ignite something in someone that is important. So here's the subtext to the story. When I started building my home-based business, my network marketing business began in 1989. I had 3 little kids that were 3 of my 4 I had at the time. They were 5, 4, and 2. Building that business back in the day, which is not the case now. You can build it from the palm of your hand, really build a business from home. But back in the day, it necessitated being out and about, and doing a lot of face-to-face and meetings and so forth. So I let my kids know that I was going to be really going after this. And I told them that I believed in what I was doing. I had a big vision of what it would do for our family. Please support me. And they certainly did as best they could, until every time I was ready to leave. One particular time, my son, who is now 32, came running outside. He was crying in his soccer pajamas. And I was at this was a defining moment for me. I think in life we have a handful of these. This was one of those for me. He was crying. I was crying too. I was so exhausted. I was holding him and consoling him, and I said to him, I could have said, screw it, one more meeting, who knows who's even going to show up. Like, I don't know where I got the strength to and the conviction to keep going that night. But I said to him, Todd, please go in the house, be a big boy, and I promise you that someday I'm going to take you everywhere I go. So I got back in the car, went off to that meeting. Who knows if it was even valuable, but it was defining for me. I'll take you everywhere I go was my promise. I had no idea how I would fulfill that promise, but within a short period of time, I was making money and I was able to take them with me to various meetings and so forth. So I lay you that subtext because travel has been my thing, and it actually was a promise I made to those children. Someday I will take you everywhere I go. Well, I want to say, due to those 6 steps that I just shared with you, and at the time I didn't even realize I was doing them. It wasn't until I looked back in hindsight that I know I was employing those 6 steps. So we're in the year 2000 now. I started my business in 1989. Kids are still pretty young. And there were a series of events and circumstances that came together that began to build a dream and a desire so big in me, but it was building and it was not going to be denied. So here's how it came together. During that time, I was really busy in Southeast Asia. I was going to Malaysia, all over Malaysia, a little bit Singapore, and I was building my business. I was going 1 week out of every month to that region of the world. I fell in love with the people in Malaysia, the people, the food, the culture, their beliefs, everything that made them what they are. I fell in love with, and I just kept thinking, oh man, someday I'd love to bring my children here. I'd love them to eat bak kut teh, one of my favorite foods, and nasi lemak. I want them to eat bak kut teh from Klang, which is a city. I just started like, I'm loving it. I want my kids to experience this. But wow, all my kids to Malaysia, right? Okay. And then I remember Bob Proctor, who is one of my favorite mentors. Has had such a profound impact on the success that I have experienced over the last couple of decades. He says, sit in the front of the plane and the back of the car. And so I thought, I want to teach my kids that. And then another thing came together. On one of my trips to Malaysia, I ended up in business class on Singapore Airlines. So, oh my gosh, if you haven't had a chance to fly business class Singapore Airlines, it's something that you must do. It is an experience all in and of itself. It lifted my sights of what flying can be like. So I'm like, oh my gosh, someday I want my kids to fly Singapore Airlines. Then one time when I was on my way home from Southeast Asia, I sat next to some flight attendants. They had printed out all of their pictures. They were coming home. They were revenue, non-rev seats. And they showed me all of their pictures from Thailand and how they had ridden elephants in Chiang Mai and beautiful, stuff from Bangkok and showing me these rafts, wooden rafts that they'd floated down this. I looked and their animation was off the hook. It's like, I'm going to Thailand and I'm taking my kids. And in that moment, I planted my first seed of my kids are going to ride those elephants, right? So, and this was probably in the late 90s that this stuff came together one piece at a time. So in the year 2000, I heard that Singapore Airlines had this special thing. It was a trip around the world. It had some rules. The rules were, once you start, you have to keep going that direction unless you go back to Singapore. You can go anywhere as long as you pop back to Singapore. But then you have to keep going around this direction to keep the rules. And the limit is 25,000 miles. I thought, guys, we're doing this. So I began planning. And let me just say this. I could have bought a small home for what this was going to cost, but I had the research, I had the means to be able to make this happen. So I started piecing together the trip. First, we would start in Japan. Then, because I was doing a lot of business there as well, and they could experience everything I was experiencing in Japan. And then we could go to Malaysia. Then we could back to Singapore. And then we could go to Thailand so they could ride the elephants. And then we would continue around the world to, let's go to London. Let's see 3 Broadway plays, because we all love musicals, right? We're crazy about musicals. So let's do that. When I added all of this together, guys, it came to like 24,800 some miles, and the trip was planned. So, and so we did. We a trip around the world. I think it was 3 weeks all in all that this thing was going to last. We started in Japan. I got to take them to Roppongi. I got to take them to restaurants. They got to experience the beautiful park. Anyway, they got to experience that. And then I was able to take them to Malaysia. We went to Genting. We went to Penang. Genting is a beautiful amusement park. We went to Penang. We went to KL. And then we popped to Singapore. We went to Sentosa, taking them all the places I love. They're eating the foods I love. Ice Kaching. They're going to all these places that I now am able to, beautiful temples. They get to get a feeling of the people. And while we're there, we're meeting team members that have become like family to me and embrace those children like family. And then, guys, on to Thailand. And here's my whole reason for sharing this. In Thailand, when we were riding, when we were on the backs of those elephants through this beautiful, lush jungle, misty, beautiful, felt sacred experience, I looked back at those children on those elephants and I thought to myself, I have seen this in my mind's eye 1,000 times. And so then, on to London, amazing trip, 24,000 something miles, and let me say this about Singapore Airlines. So we went first class, not business, first class Singapore Airlines. They send you out 6 weeks in advance a menu so that you get to pick what your meals are. Lobster thermidor, they bring you caviar. My children, like even Ashley was maybe only like 9 years old or whatever, and they were saying, "Oh, Miss Ashley," and just treating us like kings and queens. So this was an experience I was able to give my kids, and it was by using those 6 steps. What I want to share is that this works. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are right now, because the circumstances in your life right now are the result of yesterday's thinking. You can make new 1, decisions. 2, build belief around it. 3, you can craft a compelling vision. You can see in your mind's eye what you want more of. Number 4, you can think it, speak it, and affirm it into existence. Number 5, you can connect it to the heart. And then number 6, you can move into action by employing those 6 steps of deliberate creation. You can create absolutely anything you want. And so as you sit in these moments of looking back on 2017, give yourself a huge pat on the back. Like, don't be critical of yourself. Yes, take stock, take inventory, learn, make decisions about things that can change, but, be generous with yourself. Give yourself a giant hug and just say, well done, well done. And then let's be deliberate about crafting our 2018 and realize that life is short and we are powerful. We really do hold in our hands the ability to create absolutely everything that we want in life. By following those 6 steps, it can happen. I believe it, I know it, and I want to thank you guys so much. My eyes are so bad I can't see everybody, or I would be saying hi. Thank you so much for joining in this morning. I want to tell you how much I love you and how much I love this platform that enables us to share with each other. My gosh, in the live the other day about what is your theme for 2018, some people shared theirs, and I was so inspired by the sharing. And so if you would please, in this string, share what your theme is for 2018, and just share anything. How maybe one of these ideas you've employed before and what a difference it made for you, or something that maybe touched your heart, or an idea like this sharing. I love this platform because some of us may never even meet each other personally, physically, and yet we can create a bond that supports each other in our lives, our dreams, our own unique mission. And let me tell you that you were born for a reason. You are not here on accident, and you have a purpose that is so specifically yours that if you don't fulfill it, it will not be fulfilled. It's yours, specifically yours. I know this. And I know the power of employing those 6 time-tested, doable steps. Practical, you can make it happen, and enjoy the rest of your holiday season. And thank you for tuning in. Love you guys.